school. Leah?
Lord, thank you for bringing us to this meeting tonight. We pray for all the government officials gathered here tonight. Guide the mayor and council as they make decisions that impact the town of Sarita. Grant them wisdom to make just and fair decisions that promote the well-being and progress of our community. Impart your wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful outcome. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Leah. Carolyn?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll?
Councilmember Bracco.
Here.
Councilmember Davis. Here. Councilmember Gillespie.
Here.
Councilmember Morales. Here. Councilmember Priolo. Here. Vice Mayor Egbert.
Here.
Vice Mayor Egbert is participating virtually. Mayor Murphy.
Here.
Quorum present.
Thank you. At this time, a call public is now open. Individuals may speak for 3 minutes. Spokespersons 10. The council may not discuss matters not on the agenda. However, at the end of the call to the public, council members may respond to criticism, request staff to review the matter, or add to a future topic. I have 2, but they're for a particular agenda item. So I will hold those to the agenda item. I don't have any for the general call to the public. Anybody like to address the town council? Seeing no movement, I will close the call to the public and move to item number 6, Madam Clerk.
Presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding the 2024 legislative session update.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Our management analyst will be presenting this item, and I know they haven't been very busy up at the legislature.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I do not have any updates with regards to the state legislative session, but I do have some exciting updates for what's going on at the federal level. To precede this update and to give you a little bit of context, I just want to review the process by which earmarks or congressionally directed spending
Thank you.
are selected. Each member of Congress, all 535 of them, are allotted a certain number of projects that they can request. But the total number of projects that are submitted for the budget are way larger than what the budget can actually hold. So there's a kind of a 2-step selection process, right? First is the selection process for individual congressmen to select the projects that they want to sponsor in the budget. And then there's a selection process that goes on in individual appropriation subcommittees where they pare down those projects to fit the budget. So having said that, as we prepared our requests for congressionally directed spending, we selected 5 projects to be considered by our congressmen and our senators. Of those 5, we got word today that 4 of them have been selected for consideration. They made it past the first gate. That is, personally, that's more than I was expecting. I was going to call this a success if we got 2 past that first gate. But we got 4 of them. The 4 that have been selected are the inclusive playground at the La Villita Community Center, the 2 projects at the wastewater facility. One is the odor control infrastructure, and the other is fencing and beautification around the retention and recharge basins. And then the 4th project to be selected is new police radios. Those 4 were selected by the Joint Selection Committee of Senators Kelly and Senator Sinema. In addition, the radios project was selected by Siscomani's office for his sponsorship. So those 4 projects have gotten through the first gate. That does not mean we have projects in the final budget. We still have to get through the individual subcommittees. We are in a good position for that, though, because we have both Senator Sinema on the Senate side and Representative Siscomani on the House side, who sit on the appropriations committees and can be expected, hoped for, to be champions for projects in Arizona. So we're feeling pretty good about those 4 projects.
Thank you.
That is my update.
Appreciate it. Any questions? Good job. And just as a reminder, the other projects are not in Representative Siscomani's area. Police, I know they can go town-wide, but it's difficult to get projects. So the fact that he's on appropriations and the other are by the senators are positive. Thank you. Town manager and council brief summary events. Councilmember Bracco.
Nothing for me, thanks.
Deb? Diane? The only one I have, I forgot to do a shout out, thank you, when we had the Boy Scouts and the Streets Division put out the American flags over our last holiday, so I forgot to mention at the last town council meeting. And thanks to the PD, I know they had a couple tough cases they were working over the last couple of weeks, so please pass on. I know I've done it individually to you, but please pass it on behalf of all our council, all the hard work on those. And before I go to Mr. Dealey, a reminder that June 24th is our next meeting, and then we take a summer recess, unless something comes up, which everybody's always been nice and flexible if something does come up and we have to get a quorum, but that's a reminder. The next one is the 24th. Shane, any updates?
Yeah, quickly, Mayor, thank you. Just an update on 2 projects of ours. We've got the splash pad project that's well under construction. If you've gone to the Animax Park, you'll see it. It's clearly under construction, and the contractor is moving forward with that. I just wanted to publicly, acknowledge Devin and the Parks team for the continued efforts to advance that project. In our particular day and age, the supply line in the supply chain can be problematic. We've experienced a bit of a hiccup in terms of the delivery of some electrical equipment that's going to delay the actual opening of that splash pad into the month of July. So, previously stated we were hoping to have it open by the end of June, but that's not going to be the case. It's looking like we're going to be well into the month of July before we get that open. But rest assured, we're doing everything we can to get that splash pad open. It's likely going to be a period of time when that thing looks like it can be fired up and ready to go. And because it's electrical in nature, that the parts that we're waiting for, we won't be able to turn it on until we get that stuff in. So just an update on that.
Fortunately, Arizona's hot for a long time, so
That's
I'm
right.
sure it'll be enjoyed.
That's
We're
right.
expecting a cold front in July, though.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Okay. And then the other update is that we do have construction, draft set of construction documents for the El Toro extension project, and we are planning to meet with the residents tomorrow here in the council chambers to kind of go over those plans and make sure that we're tracking according to our commitments to them. And if we get a green light there, then we'll make sure that the contractor is notified and can kind of start advancing that ball construction-wise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And Vice Mayor, I forgot, since I don't see you to my left, did you have an update you wanted to add?
None for me today, Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks. Next, we move to item number 8, which is our consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
So moved. Second.
All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Madam Clerk, item number 9.
Sahuarita Teen Advisory Council, otherwise known as STAC, end of the year report.
Thank you, and Devin Stalder, our Parks and Rec Director, will introduce it, and then our Sahuarita Teen Advisory Council, STAC, will present the item. Welcome this evening. I quickly looked out in the audience, and I didn't see anybody. You're all hiding in the backs, but thanks for being here.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, thanks for having us tonight. So I won't speak too long on this because I know you have an exciting presentation ahead of you. I just want to thank our stackers for this year's contributions. They've been absolutely becoming more and more ingrained in our operations and planning, as you'll see tonight. So I just want to say thank you. But you have a big group, and I'll let them speak. So I think Lacey's going to kick it off.
Good evening, Lacey.
Hi there, good evening. So I'll start by introducing, having the advisors all introduce themselves, and then we'll hand it over to STAC to give their year-end wrap-up presentation to you all.
Thank you.
So I'm Lacey Simmons. I am the events coordinator for Parks and Recreation. Hi, everyone. My name is Caitlin Prouty. I'm the Youth and Therapeutic Recreation Coordinator over at Animax.
Hey.
Hi, I'm Ellie McGee. I'm currently a recreation aide with the events team, soon to be recreation lead.
Hello, my name is Christian Root. I am a recreation generalist with the town of Sarita.
Now you have to smile when you come out. There you go. Come over to the mic.
My name's Abigail Nelson, and I'm a recreation leader at the town of Sarita doing events.
Thanks. Now, what's depressing is all of our staff are as young as our stack members are. That's just depressing to me from my age. Go
So
ahead,
this is
Lisa.
our group of advisors here. We've been with the Stackers for the 2023-2024 school year. We've helped them with planning events, getting the teens out in the community, and just helping their group be well known in the community. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to the Stackers to introduce themselves and then give their presentation. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Jaira Barajas, and I am the historian for this year.
Hi, my name's Riley O'Connor, and
And you're here this evening.
Yep.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Manny Alvarez, and I'm the current stack president for this year.
Hello, my name is Noah Vaterlos, and I'm a stack member, just general.
hello, my name is Val Flythe, and I'm also just here.
Well, we're happy for that.
Me too, I'm just here.
Yeah, so this is our 2023 to 2024 stack presentation. For our first event, we had the art and movie event, which is what we kicked off the year with. Stack planned our first event with the intention of providing teens with a fun and creative outlet before the school year began. Blank tote bags were provided for them to color and style, while jumbo games were outside for those who wished to interact with friends. In the second half of the event, we played the Teen Beach Movie, which was enjoyed by both attendees and stack members. I personally had not seen the Teen Beach Movie beforehand, so I definitely had a great time watching it with the other stackers here and just experiencing it for the first time. For our second event, we had the LACT 2023. I personally was not there, so if our President Manny could present.
Hello. I'd like to begin with saying that League of Cities and Towns Conference is something STAC goes to annually, so I'm happy to be here and speak about it. STAC attended LAC 2023 in order to share details about the Youth Council with other attending teens. With the help of a poster board and our council members, we managed to share what makes STAC unique and how it benefits our peers. During the conference, our members interacted with other councils and leaders in order to gain a better understanding of our surrounding cities as well as the functioning groups similar to us. Then I'm going to hand it back to Jaira to speak about Spooktacular.
So yeah, Spectacular. For Spectacular, the council built a haunted house with 4 different sections to walk through: a zombie hall, a circus, a spider cave, and a graveyard. Each one spectacularly decorated. We dressed in costumes themed to our sections and put on scary display for those who entered. The line to enter remained long throughout the event, and a few people even returned for a second time, including my family. So yeah, this was a very fun event, and I think everyone had quite fun just hanging around with the kids and everything, and I think it was a great experience for everybody. Winterfest. Winterfest, with beloved holiday characters in mind, STAC decided to theme this year's Winterfest float as a Charlie Brown Christmas. Those who planned to be on the float decided to dress up as Peanuts characters. Before the parade began, we were joined by the mayor, with whom we were grateful to share this fun experience with. As we drove through the streets of Sahuarita towards Town Hall, we enthusiastically waved at the onlookers. I think it was a great event, especially having the mayor on the float with us. The next one was the Winter Social. The Winter Social was created for teens to have holiday fun and socialize with others. Cookies and crafts were laid out for cookie decorating and snowflake cutting. We also hosted an ugly sweater contest, judged by the mayor. There were quite a few contestants with a wide array of sweaters. The event elicited plenty of positive feedback from the teens who came and participated in the activities. Next is Fiesta Saladita. The stack booth at Fiesta Saladita was possibly our most popular event amongst all age groups. Many families took their turns at the lumberjack throw and the soccer target for their chance to earn prizes. Our stack members worked diligently to ensure that everybody was provided with a turn and an opportunity to win. After that, we had the Teen Memorial. The annual Teen Memorial, joined by the Carr family, was a solemn but beautiful event where we took the time to invite others to remember teens who have departed. Paper bags allowed those who joined the event to create their own lanterns to be placed along the sidewalk. Later in the evening, floating lanterns were lit as stories were told of those close to us who had passed away. Last was our Neon Silent Disco. The Neon Silent Disco was an exciting and colorful event that once again allowed teens the opportunity to socialize. With plenty of snacks and 3 channels of music, many of the teens had fun dancing and talking. Some of the stack members joined in as well and began a few games to keep the experience lively. So yeah, that is a wrap-up of our 2023 to 2024 stack year. I think it was a great experience, and I think we discussed redoing some of these events for future years to come because of their success. Thank you for listening.
Thanks. How are you doing on recruiting the replacements for the seniors that are aging out, so to speak?
I'm not too sure on how that recruiting process is going, but I have a feeling that we'll probably get some good new members in a few years to come.
Thanks. Lacey?
I'll jump in here. So currently, I believe we have 10 applicants for stack. We tend to see about 10 to 15 applicants throughout each year. Applications are open through the end of June, with our stack season beginning in the first week of July. So
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank
and,
you.
and I know there's 91 cities and towns. Do you know how many youth organizations, because I go up for the league, it seems like there's quite a few, but do you know the number compared to?
I don't know the number offhand, but I'm sure I could get it. The advisors on our committee are part of the planning committee for all of LOCATS for the youth section.
I was just curious, because
Yeah.
I know I saw the boards and all the activities, so, thanks for continuing to attend the league, because I know the speakers, I popped in for a couple of those, they're really good, the speakers that they bring in, very motivating. So,
Yeah, our teams usually have a great time at that event.
Yeah,
so.
thanks. Any questions for historians or others?
I want to know where they found out about disco.
The archives, I would think. Any questions, feedback? No? Thanks for being here.
Mayor?
Appreciate it very much. Yes.
Mayor, I just wanted to point out, I think next year for the annual report, we'll target maybe an April date for that report, so that the seniors that are participating don't have a conflict with the end of school and
Yeah.
graduation and making it to this type of meeting for an
Thanks.
annual update.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for being here this night, and thanks most of all for all the work that you do to get involved with our teens and supporting our community. We really appreciate it very much. Thanks for continuing that effort. Next, we have item number 10. Madam Clerk.
Presentation, discussion, and possible adoption of ordinance number 2024-174, amending the Sahuarita Town Code by amending the following chapters related to the adoption of fees by the town. Chapter 3.10 Fee Schedule, Sections 3.10.030 Administrative Fees, 3.10.140 Miscellaneous Fees, 3.10.150 Parks and Recreation Fees, 3.10.160 Police Department Administrative Fees, 3.10.170 Municipal Court Fees, and 3.10.180 Dog License Fees, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances and providing for severability.
Thank you, and Nathan will be conducting, or at least beginning this presentation. Maybe questions for others, but thanks for being here again, Nathan, and please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. To answer the question that you're probably thinking, why is this phase one? We're taking half of the fee schedule and doing fee adjustments to that half today. And you can expect at a later council meeting in the fall, possibly as late as the winter, but we're shooting for fall, for the rest of the fee schedule to be taken to council for review and adjustment. So tonight we're just looking at these 6 sections, and we're calling this Phase 1. We're going to be covering, as the town clerk said, parks and rec fees, police department, municipal court, administrative fees, miscellaneous fees, and dog licensing fee. You'll notice that I did not put these in the same order as they appear in the fee schedule. I apologize that means you're going to be doing a lot of flipping tonight, but I put these in kind of a conceptual order. So Parks and Recreation, which has the greatest number of fees, I wanted to tackle those first. And the dog licensing and miscellaneous fees, which only have 1 fee adjustment each, we're saving those for last. So that's why they're not in numerical order. I apologize.
I thought it was just to keep us on the ball and making sure that...
That too. It's to test and make sure that Councilmember Gillespie has not fallen asleep.
Okay.
Okay, so Parks and Recreation fees. The number of adjustments to this fee schedule accounts for 23 of the 50 that we're recommending. And then going through kind of a summary overview of what is being adjusted. So first, a consolidation of the Ramada rentals. Currently, the fee schedule has 3 different fees for Ramadas, depending on how large the Ramadas are, small, medium, large. As it turns out, the cost of maintaining maintaining those Ramadas really does not vary all that much based on the size. So we're recommending that it just be a single fee for the rental of a Ramada, regardless of the size.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Nathan, while you're going through each of the different categories, if you know, could you just let us know when the last time these fees potentially have been adjusted? It may be an unfair question if you don't have it, but to the best of your ability.
Yes, I will do that when possible. Pinpointing exact dates is sometimes difficult. As part of my review of these fees, what I have been able to do is locate a copy of the fee schedule as it existed in 2013, as it existed in 2017, and as it existed in 2020, so that I could then go back and take a look at when those fees changed, and I can at least narrow it down to a couple years.
Okay, thanks.
Having said that, parks and recreation fees generally get adjusted regularly, with an exception that I will get to in a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so the second major fee adjustment, we're recommending a differentiation between the Animax facility rentals and the new La Villita Community Center facility rentals. This is necessitated by the fact that the last time these fees were adjusted, the LVCC did not exist. So we need to insert into the fee schedule rental fees for that facility. One thing that we're doing is consolidating the discount that's offered to nonprofits for these rentals. In the current fee schedule, for every rental type, so for example, it says Animax room rental, the amount, Animax room rental for nonprofits. Animax all-day rental, one price. Animax all-day rental for nonprofit. We're consolidating all of those nonprofit lines into a single line that says 25% discount. That discount amount is not changing, but because the fees themselves are going up, then that 25% discount is a discount off of a higher fee.
Okay.
So we're hoping that just makes it easier to use. The third major type of adjustment that we're recommending is field rentals. This is that exception that I told you about. Going back to the fee schedule that I have a copy of that dates back to 2013, the fees that are in the current fee schedule are exactly the same for field rentals now as they were in 2013. So that's one of the reasons why we are recommending some increases to field rentals. We have also looked at some of the costs in maintaining our fields for our residents. Those costs are in utilities like electricity and water. Those costs are in staff time and maintaining. Looking at just the electricity and the water costs for field maintenance, we have seen in those 10 years an increase of 75% to maintaining the fields just for the
those two areas.
The other point I'd like to make at this point, the amount of general funds that the town spends on maintaining fields is about $900,000. And we collect in fees, currently we collect in fees about $150,000 for field rentals. So that's about a
I think it's about 17%. Thanks.
cost recovery. The other 83% of the cost of maintaining fields is borne by the town. With the recommendation before you tonight, that cost recovery would increase to 25%. So 25% would be borne by the users, 75% would be borne by the town. Having said that, the specifics, it's kind of a two-part thing. First, the fees themselves would increase from $5 an hour to $10 an hour. But then those field rental fees would be uncoupled from the lighting fees. Currently, the fees are set up such that after a certain time of day, the field rental fee increases. Regardless of whether the lights are actually used, after 6 p.m., which is called a peak hour, the field rental fee goes up to $15 an hour. So the practical impact here is that daytime rentals would increase from $5 to $10. Nighttime rentals would increase from $15 to $20 an hour. And those rare times when the field is rented in the evening, but no lights are needed, we would see that, for example, in the summer. A game that's played at 6 or 7 at night may not need lights. We're actually seeing a decrease there from $15 an hour to $10 an hour. Granted, that is a fairly rare exception, but that's the way it is. Other field rental type fees that we're recommending adjustments and increases to are various maintenance, special requests, striping, mowing, dragging, packing, those sorts of additional requests from a league or a user. We will provide that service, and those fee adjustments are in the...
Nathan, do the organizations have the option, because I know I watch the high school kids across the street, they do a lot of that themselves. Do we have the option that the organizations can do some of that if they so choose to?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
And Devin, you can jump up and shout and call me a liar if I'm...
Yeah, I'm going to. I'll tell you that. We don't get to use a tractor on the fields, so we can't...
If you could come to the mic, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's just because it's being recorded.
No, that's fine. So the big thing for this portion is we stripe our own fields at Animax, pretty much at any field. We can only hand drag. We've never been allowed to have a tractor to do any dragging with, so our hand drags do very little, obviously. The packing and dragging, I think every other day or every day after our games are played, sometime during the morning, they might drag the fields with a tractor, and that's it. And it's almost non-existent, the dirt, and, well, I'll get into that later. But anyways, so that's for the request to have them drag it, we don't do. That's something the town's just been doing. We don't do it in between games, because obviously we don't have a tractor. We do it by hand, we stripe it by hand, we pretty much maintain the fields ourselves.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead, Debbie.
The fee difference from daytime to evening, what's the purpose of that?
Your microphone, please.
The fee purpose, the fee change from daytime to evening? From 10 to
That is
20?
how it exists in the current schedule. The theory behind that is to recoup the cost of running lights. What we're doing in the new proposal is to decoupling it from the actual time. So it's $10 an hour regardless of what time you're using it, but then if you request lights, then it's another $10 on top of
Okay.
that, regardless of what time those lights are on.
Okay, thank you.
Where before you were being charged for it, even if you weren't, on the rare occasion, using lights.
That is correct. It was based on time before.
Yep, thank you. Is that clear, Debbie?
Okay, and then the final set of changes are for the way that the department is handling special event permits. These are detailed in your packet, and if you have additional questions on that, I'm going to throw Devin under the bus. So, at this time, I can pause for further discussion because I know this is the item that has received a lot of public interest. So at discretion of the council, I can either continue and we can circle back to this at the end of the presentation, or I can pause and open for questions.
Well, we have questions now from council. Diane? Microphone. No.
Thank you.
There we go.
How does the 25% service fee recovery that you're proposing fee stack up against other jurisdictions?
That is a good question, and I'm going to turn the mic over to Mr. Statler.
Councilwoman Priolo, so the question is, how does our 25% potential with the fee increases stack up to other jurisdictions?
The cost recovery.
The cost recovery?
Yeah.
So that's a difficult question to answer because typically organizations are not looking at the minute details of what is a field cost. We're looking at the department-wide scale. A national average is about 25%. That's the industry standard for National Recreation and Park Association, so we'd be right on that metric. But depending on the jurisdiction, it can be lower, it can be higher. We've taken the extra step to look at the field specifically, to look at that 17% currently to the 25% proposed. But also departmentally, historically, we've been between 4 and 6% on our cost recovery. So we're taking steps across the board. That's why you're seeing so many fees, to make incremental jumps to get to more of a national standard.
And Devin, would you say, because the field specifically, when Nathan touched on water and electricity, obviously that's gone up a lot over 10 years. That's probably the greater impact than maybe some of the other fees?
Yeah, so when we look at the department-wide revenues for fiscal 23, that's where we have our full year data set. About 150,000 of the fees came from field rentals. Our entire department cost, or entire department revenue is about 225,000. So a significant amount of our revenues are in our fields. However, we're seeing new revenues developing with LVCC coming online and the growth of our events.
Right, and that's of the almost $1 million that it actually cost.
That's correct.
To run the bill?
Nathan, can I assume that the 25% cost recovery is some kind of a constant throughout this, or is this just dealing with Parks and Rec?
Just dealing with Parks and Rec, and specifically just dealing with field rentals. So.
Do you have the average, I think to Bill's question, when you go through the other ones, can you touch on, or maybe you don't have that data, on what the cost recovery nexus would be to the cost of providing the service?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I have that data.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out what's the constant. What is the benchmark? What is the national average?
Right.
If they're all over the map, then I want to know why.
Right. Good question. Thanks.
Councilman Bracco, to potentially answer that question, we have one average nationally. That's at 25%. However, it really comes down to what is the desire of the council, right? Setting what a cost recovery would be for a department. Typically, you only see cost recovery metrics coming out of Parks and Recreation because it's recreation in nature, and there's typically users utilizing the spaces. So you won't typically see that same metric applied to Public Works, Police Department, other departments.
Or it's probably harder to measure, I'm assuming.
It is.
Because of the fingerprints. I don't know how you measure that, I guess, for an example. Okay. Well, why don't you continue, because I have 2 call to the public cards. So it's probably to this item, but why don't you just finish up, just in case.
Okay.
It touches on another one or something in general. Shane?
Mr. Mayor, it might help if we hear the comments first, because then we can make sure that we're trying to answer if there are questions put on the table, we can try to answer them in our presentation the best we can.
Yep, we can do that. Jay Vila?
Yes. And my comment.
Yeah, sorry. It just says because it's recorded, so you have to be on the mic. Good evening.
Good evening, and thank you. My comment refers back to the fields, to the field rentals. I'm a little bit different as far as I do not use, my organization doesn't use Animax. We don't use parks or rentals outside of Wrightson. And that's where my question lies. I have a couple of questions. First off, you mentioned 25% for a nonprofit organization. Does that 25% apply to field rentals? That
Not-
25% discount?
Not at this time. That 25% discount applies to room rentals at our various community centers.
Okay. Next, and I've had this conversation with Parks and Recs, one of the town hall meetings we had with Devin and Joe, was regarding this. Now, Wrightson is a little bit different in the sense of we are paying, and to answer questions that were asked earlier, we've been paying $15 an hour for the lights. And at one point, I had done some searching of my own to try to make it a little bit more affordable for us. We're a nonprofit, as we stated, but at the same time, I called and talked to Southern Tucson and one of the schools there and asked how much they would charge me to rent fields there. And they told me for 2 nights of lights for fields and 1 Saturday, which is exactly what we're renting right now at Wrightson, it's $150 for 3 months. So right now, currently, I'm paying $90 a week for lights and an additional $5. So basically $95 a week is what I pay here. With that said, the maintenance at Wrightson has constantly been an issue since we've been there. I find myself several times throughout the year pulling weeds for the first 15, 20 minutes of practice just so we can practice, especially during monsoon season. The fields are watered. I believe it was once a month, I think is what it was brought up. So those fields were very, very bad. Now, I will say over the last month, for whatever reason, they just recently had an event there. And since that event, the fields have looked fantastic, whether they were mowed and watered and dragged. But before then, we've even had an issue where last year's meeting, we had home plate that was removed. It wasn't attached, and that was supposed to be addressed. It was ordered, and for whatever cases and circumstances came about, I think 2-3 weeks ago, it was finally put into position. So these are things when I brought up last meeting, and the reason I mentioned Wrightson, talking about the maintenance issues, it was said to me at that time that Wrightson's a little bit different because of the fact that the town doesn't have precedence over that, and so it's Wrightson's responsibility. In reverse, Wrightson is putting that on the town. So regardless, my comment was we pay the town, that's who I expect to maintain the fields. So my reason or my questioning for the increase of lights, I get it, but it sounds like it's a general as a whole as opposed to looking at the individual areas and locations of everyone's paying for this, including us, but we're not getting that service that we're paying for. So that was my reason for asking, do we get that discount? Because again, nonprofit, it's really tough. Everything that we do, that we bring in, a lot of fundraisers to be able to afford to pay these, for these. At the same time, I completely get if fees go up and things happen in the area. But as it was referred to earlier, if that's the case, what support and what help are we going to get on our end to know where our money's being spent? So
Thank
that's
you.
what I wanted to bring up.
Can you touch on, or maybe Devin can, the difference between the joint intergovernmental agreement, like with Wrightson on, I also know that we took field maintenance in-house recently, but I don't know if that applies to Wrightson and Anza because of that.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to answer. So we have 2 parks, intergovernmental agreement locations. That's Anza School and Wrightson. Those locations are unique because we have joint use through our IGA on the sites. As you're aware, end of last year, we went through a contract renegotiation with the school district, essentially getting to the place where anything that's in the ground, the assets, are controlled by the school district. Our oversight is for maintenance and general O&M. Part of that agreement is also we pay for half the utility costs, and we use the fields for the public in the evening hours and weekends, so off school times. The challenge we're experiencing now is a new contract. We're doing monthly or bi-monthly meetings with the school district to stay on top of items that were brought up, because we're still learning how to manage that contract, who oversees what. We're getting headway, but it's still a learning process.
So as he touched on the fact of the field maintenance has been getting better, is that because of the joint meetings, do you think, and we're bringing those to their attention, or is it because we're taking care of the fields, or a combination of both?
Mr. Mayor, I think it's a little bit of both. Part of, bringing back the splash pad conversation again, is we've still been waiting on equipment that we ordered back in September. For taking on the green space, a mower, for example, we just got 2 weeks ago. And so things are starting to get better. They're working in our favor. So I would imagine that we're going to see the green space management continue to improve. As far as the infrastructure, we still have to work through the school district when we have to make adjustments. We're lending a hand to help, but some of those things ultimately do fall on the school district for oversight.
So for those two fields, do we have separate fees because of the IGA, or is it the same amount of effort and work? Maybe even it looks differently by managing those as opposed to Animax or veterans?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, to answer your question, we do not have a separate fee for those two IGAs. Part of the reason why is because across the board, utilities and the O&M, the all-in cost for the town is essentially the same. We see a small decrease in that cost for the water, but we pay the full amount for electricity because we're the ones using the lights. Water is pretty minimal in cost at those two locations.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
And yes, go ahead.
I have a question now that you're up there. On the fee, what's a light audit? It says it's a new fee?
Yeah, so we're introducing a light audit to the fees because we continue across the board to experience users booking the fields, paying for lights, and we're getting reports, and we've seen it ourselves going out and checking, that in late evening hours when a practice cuts off early, the lights are left on and the fields are empty. So we're introducing this to try to combat that, to where we're not seeing two things happen. One, lights being left on, but two, booking when the fields are not being needed. We've seen that a few times when a practice gets canceled, the fields aren't being used, so there's an empty field with lights on.
Okay.
So we're looking at trying to implement that for that reason.
That was my next question, was who's responsible for turning the lights on and off? Because I've seen fields with the lights on and nobody there.
Yeah, so it's kind of a joint issue. The town has some responsibility for turning out the lights, but we rely on the users who are booking the fields to let us know if they're not going to use them so that we can turn them off.
Do they have the ability to turn them off, or do we have to send somebody out to turn them off?
We do have a hotline to be able to turn them off, operated through Musco, so that they can turn them on off themselves. Yeah.
By an app or whatever you can.
Yeah, it's a call-in system.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So somebody physically doesn't have to go out there and
That's
throw the
correct.
switch
It's all
off.
automated.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. New technology, I guess. Right. In the old days, there was a cabinet, you had to turn it on. Any questions before I call the next speaker? Chris Strasper. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I am president of the Little League, of Copper Hills Little League.
Copper Hills, yep.
Yes. Does anybody up here know how much Copper Hills spends on lights and fields in a year?
$43,000.
Yes. Our operating budget's 120. So you guys are going to take a bigger piece of our pie by increasing the fees, which in turn, I've sat down with Devin and Shane, and I don't like their answer. Their answer is just we need to raise our rates. I don't think that's fair. If you got a family of 3, they're paying almost $400 a season to play baseball, whether it's spring and fall. For them to play both spring and fall, that's almost $800 that they're paying. Do you know how much the city of Tucson charges for fields?
How much?
Nothing, unless the lights are on. If the lights are on, they charge $2. So you guys have to have the hard conversation, what are you guys gonna do for the kids? We have 520 kids. We have over 250 volunteers. Like, you guys are gonna kill us by raising these rates.
Now, what is, over the 10 years that, well, you haven't been the president for 10 years, but over that, have your registration fees have increased over
We've-
those 10 years?
Well, I've only been on the board for the last 3 years.
Right.
And we've had to increase our fees, yes.
Right, because other things have gone up,
Mhm.
right? Because
Yeah.
our fees haven't gone up in the last 3 years. Do you have thoughts on, since they haven't been adjusted in 10 years?
You guys need to find somewhere to subsidize us. I'm
Well, I
sorry.
mean, but that's part of what I think we struggle with, because, you know, it's been almost $1 million, and the cost recovery is,
But whether we're on the
12%.
fields or not, you guys have to maintain them. Like, they're parks. I don't get the whole 25%. Like, it shouldn't, I get that you should make something back, but I don't, like, the new fees are gonna double. We're gonna pay probably $70,000 in lights and fields. We spend, Travis, how much did we spend on equipment?
We spent $40,000 in 2 years
On equipment.
equipment for helping the fields?
For the,
or
no,
like,
for bats and baseballs
bats
and, yeah. I mean,
Right.
I mean, we aren't gonna be able to afford that.
Right.
So,
What do you guys charge?
$125. And then we give a $15 discount for the second or third or fourth child for each one.
Okay, thanks.
Thank
I
you.
might call you back up.
Okay.
Travis, I'm going to butcher it, oh, good.
Travis Ehlers.
Ehlers. I was going to say Allers. I was pretty close. Okay.
Everybody else does, it's okay. How you doing? I'm with the Copper Hills Board also. I'm the equipment manager, and I, at one time, was the safety and fields manager. I've been involved with the board for 3 years. I've been a coach the 3 years. My son's 8, so we started in T-ball at 5, have progressed through. Basically, raising the rates is gonna kill us. As Chris just gave you the numbers, it's gonna kill us. From an equipment standpoint, the bags that I buy for the coaches that have all the catcher's gear, the helmets, the bats, all that stuff that they have to have, that we're required to provide, the bag alone is $150. So our registration fee goes out the door as soon as we get it. So if you raise our rates and double them, we're hosed. Like, I've been buying a bunch of equipment because we've had an influx of kids since COVID's ended and the restrictions have been lifted. The kids have been coming back. So we've been able to add new equipment. We've really improved the situation for the kids that can't afford their own. So with the rate increases, obviously you can tell that's gonna hurt just Copper Hills, but also hurt other leagues like the Sidewinders, which are a very big club baseball within Sarita, right? We've got 2 of the best high school baseball teams in the area, right? And it's pretty fortunate to have 2, and they all start at Copper Hills. Now, they don't stay with us all the way through, right? They go to club teams, they play different competitions, but they still start with us. So if Copper Hills goes away, your high school baseball goes away, which I don't know if you care about it or not. I do. I think it's pretty cool. I'm from a small town. Our baseball team was terrible, so it's kind of fun to live in an area where baseball's kind of a priority, honestly. So, you know, we, as a nonprofit, we just spent $30,000 over the past 2 years to do the scoreboards at Animax. Good thing we were able to work with the town. We got the lights, or got them hooked up, got the electricity, awesome. And we got those scoreboards so we could host tournaments. But the part of us hosting tournaments, like our All-Stars for Little League, is we have to provide fields that are, you know, quality fields. Field 3 at Animax, there's no grass. It's just wood chips right now. It's been dead all season long. The mounds are treacherous for the kids. There's big holes, big spots, roll your ankles. You slide in at home where the batter's box is, there's big divots. You know, when they drag it with the tractor, they literally just drag it in a circle, and then that's it. So usually you got a big dip in the home plate. We've had instances where kids slide in, break their ankles, stuff like that in the past. So for me, it's about the kids for me, right? So I don't think that spending $7 million to redo Town Hall is a great investment for the taxpayers. because the Parks and Rec is important to keep the kids out of trouble. If you want a return on investment, your kids are out of trouble. Police will tell you, if they got nothing to do, what do? Stupid things, right?
Right.
So that's really all I got. It's just, hopefully you guys can come up with a way to not hurt the organizations that have to use the fields, that they're not quality by any means. We volunteered our time to help the Parks and Rec, go out there with shovels, we'll help move dirt, we'll do whatever. As the equipment guy, I've got a budget, I'm willing to help where I can. I bought a set of bases last year, that was $800. So, we try to work with them, but we don't really see our money come back to the fields. So.
Thanks, appreciate it. Nathan, do you know of all the organizations, because I know some are more a traveling club, do you know if they're all considered not-for-profit? It just made me think, because we had a differential between not-for-profit, and we probably have some organizations, maybe for the older kids, that are more profit, traveling team driven, or...
That's a Devin question.
Thanks.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, happy to answer that question. So I'm pulling information from my head. I think we have 13 registered sports organizations registered with the town currently. I know not all of them are non-for-profits.
Right.
And we utilize a field allocation policy to actually prioritize use. Essentially, local organizations that are not-for-profit come first in line.
Yep.
And at the back of the line, we have non-local for-profit organizations. So that's kind of how we prioritize the bookings of the fields.
But the pricing for the fields is the same for
It is.
for all of them.
Yep, and that's historically been the nature of the town
Right.
with our fees, historically.
Right. Well, maybe that's a conversation to have, only because so much cost, water, electricity, everything has been going up. I remember during the pandemic, we were open, other communities weren't, and they sort of descended upon us and took over.
Tucson came down and used all our pickleball courts.
Right. I remember that on there. So, okay, well, thanks for that.
Yeah,
I wasn't
absolutely.
sure. I'm sorry, but of the 13, off the top of your head, do you know about how many would?
I want to say a majority of them. I think that's as comfortable as I am to answer that question, not having the information in
Right,
front of me.
or nonprofit?
Not-for-profits.
Okay, but there still is a group that would be,
Yeah, and we'd have to go through and look at what their paperwork, but
Right.
we can get that information back to you.
right,
Well, another way to break it up is local versus
Yeah.
out of town.
yeah, or for-profit as opposed to nonprofit.
Yeah, but if the differentiation doesn't provide a big enough.
Right,
gap.
right. That's another way to do it. Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions before I go to the next speaker? Okay, no, yeah, go ahead.
Well, my question would be to any three of you that have spoken already.
Microphone, please.
Sorry. My question is to any three of you that have spoken already. What do you think the solution would be for all of us to come to an agreement?
I mean, I think it's...
Wait, take it up there.
I think it's pretty easy. I mean, honestly, there's plenty of areas of reallocation for this bond that's going to go through. $66 million. Like I said, $7 million for town hall. This is a relatively beautiful building already as it is, and I don't think the taxpayers get anything out of being in a new town hall that's repainted or whatever the remodel encompasses. We could turn the fields artificial. Just the infield, it's about $1 million per field that you do artificial grass in, but then you start taking the longevity of it. No dirt, no dragging, no painting, no chalk, no water. So environmentally wise, you could probably get something out of that because you're not doing water. So there's plenty of other places to save money. And I can't believe it costs almost $1 million. In my mind, I'm just thinking Animax, right? That's 3 fields at Animax. The 3 years I've been involved, I don't see our money coming back that we're paying, $43,000 for. I don't see mounds rebuilt, home plates are popping out, when you pull the bases out, the post that's in the ground comes out, and we've done safety, bulletins and notifications and such of that nature.
Yeah, the difference on bonds, though, just try to remember, that's only for capital improvements. You can't use bond money for operations money, so.
Okay, but-
The artificial turf would be one example.
Right, exactly.
And I don't know off the top of my head, but part of the bond package was improvements at Animax, but I don't know.
It was I believe it was $2.4 million.
Right.
And it's $1 million per field, so it's not leaving much improvement for like new lights that are more efficient because those lights are 30 years old. So our usage is very high compared to maybe Tucson with a newer LED light or whatever it may be, right? I'm not an electrician, so I can't speak on that. But, there's plenty of other areas. I don't think Parks and Recs gets enough of a budget, honestly. I'm not going to talk bad about, the only thing I have a problem with is the fields at Animax, right? I love Parks and Rec, but when we're talking about, potentially halving our budget for fields from the Little League, that's where I got to stand up, because we could have had 600 kids this year. I've sent emails to you asking you for a meeting about the future of baseball, and I know you're busy, obviously, but that's a huge concern for me. My kid's 8 years old, so the future's just around the corner for playing baseball in Sarita. So, I think for 600 kids, that's awesome that we have the opportunity. If we have a few more fields added, I mean, we could really improve the quality for the kids. So, because right now it's dangerous sometimes to play.
Right. And again, remember though, if we add fields, we add costs.
Sure,
and
sure.
that has to, be.
But if we could get away from using the school fields, that would kind of help offset the cost of adding new fields that the town manages, the town owns, the town takes care of, compared to giving money to the school that, is it being used for the fields? No,
Right.
It's not. Their budget's small too, you know what I mean? So.
Right.
But I think there's some reallocation areas. I think there's, potential there. Obviously, I think there's potential to bring businesses down here to have a different tax base, because there's, this is a growing community. It's growing like crazy. So there's plenty of opportunities. It's just maybe not right now, but if you raise the fees right now, it's going to kill us.
Okay, thanks. I don't know if that answered your question. Okay. Stephen, I can't read that. DeGreat?
Yeah, that's easy.
DeGreat?
Like 1 foot in.
Oh, DeGrave. Okay, I couldn't see a V there.
Yeah. No.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time. I'm not going to answer any of your questions, probably, and I probably won't be very helpful, because most of what I have to say is really just general statements, but I've heard a lot of numbers that others have brought up and that you all have down and that are on paper. For me, I'm going to be speaking opposite of Travis for a moment and really focus more on the fact that out of the 525 that Copper Hills had listed for attendance this year, oh, I'm sorry, let me backtrack. 11 years volunteer umpire for Copper Hills Little League. I've been through 5 Chris Trospers, or 5 presidents, and I was on the board from 2019 through 2022. So I know that we have picked up costs over time, or the registration fees when we've had to, and we've juggled them where we could. When I sit down and look at the 525 registration, less than 100 of those kids are going to these all-star tournaments that we're referenced to, that we play in districts every year. And of those, balance, the 425, those are the ones that Little League is actually working to support far more, because those other 100 are likely playing club ball for the Sidewinders and everybody else already anyhow. And I don't like the fact that we end up losing those and we don't get to play, and they don't play at the 14U level and the 16U level for Little League, because for me, Little League is about teaching life lessons to kids and helping them understand how they need to become adults living in today's society, sitting at chairs like you all and jobs that we all have, including the ones at the gas station and McDonald's. But to be fair about it, that's what Little League is there for. And right now, for me, when I only read the details in the last 48 hours, because, yep, I was on vacation and I read the Copper Hills blast on Facebook and I went and read the details, and I probably don't know them all correctly. But for me, when I look at taking a $5 an hour fee to a flat $10 an hour fee during non-peak hours, and unattaching the lights, for me, I get it. We're trying to look at alternative ways to be able to come up with a solution. I'm just suggesting, I don't think that we've looked at all the options. And I think that a couple have been discussed, or at least suggested. I wonder if there aren't more ideas yet that others haven't necessarily suggested. I know, like I said, I'm not going to answer the questions because I don't have a real good solution, okay, for it. But the one thing I can say is we have been on a growth spurt in Little League, particularly since the pandemic hit. But we were even on a little bit of a downward trend in Little League before the pandemic hit. So attendance went down for not just a couple of years because of the pandemic, but even the previous year. Things tend to go in cycles. We're swelling in softball registration right now, and for us, that's huge. Yep, I got to go sit down. Okay, thank you.
Finish your thought.
No, but at the end of the day, the registration's going up, and for me right now, I'm not suggesting quite as strongly as Travis and Chris are that we're going to kill Little League by it, but we don't have I think we could do a little bit better, I guess is my point, in terms of continuing to be innovative, like it says up there, and providing a quality of life for all. I think we're missing the opportunity on those other 425 that won't be playing baseball and softball long-term. And just, I don't know. I wish I had a better solution to offer and bring to the table. I would love to participate if somebody wanted to sit down and say, well, let's hammer out some other ideas and let's make sure we've looked at every nook and cranny. So.
Well, thanks. That's why I kind of suggested or threw out there the non-for-profit or out of town organizations or a combination of.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that. So.
Diane?
So.
Thank you. Still not on.
Is it possible to form a think tank, just like we did with the dog park, and see if they could come up with a mutually acceptable solution?
We have the ability to do anything that mayor and council directs, actually. And just remember that, we really do. I mean, these are brought to us because of inflation and the cost of water and the cost of electricity. But we also have the ability to, pause on any issue at any time to, dig into it a little bit, further.
I'd also add a final comment real
Absolutely.
fast, and it's that I absolutely believe that we need to try to get towards that 25% recovery piece. I understand economics. I get it.
Yeah.
But for me, if you told me that it was all about maintenance and not about lights, I might swallow it a little bit better. Because in my 11 years, maintenance has constantly been a problem. I've never been to Wrights and Ridge, never to the field once, so I don't know a first thing about it. But I know at North Santa Cruz Park, I was the one that used to call Musco to get the lights turned off years and years ago. I used to call and ask the town to shut the sprinkler off because the sprinkler would always turn on behind first base. And we've done it at the softball field regularly, I think even this season some too. So I could swallow it if I had to a little bit more, or say from 17 to 21 or 21.5%.
Right.
If we were talking about maintenance and we were doing more that way rather than necessarily lights. Lights are to me, the very faster, easier approach to say, here's how we're recovering some of that 25%. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. Jonathan Rupp? That one I could figure out. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm Jonathan Rupp. I'm a volunteer for Copper Hills Little League. I'm not a member of the board, but I've volunteered for them for about 3 years now. My kids have played baseball and softball with them, and just here to talk, obviously, about the Parks and Recs fees. One thing I'd like to kind of address, everyone keeps talking about this 25% nonprofit discount. That's for the facilities.
Right.
For Animax, and that's nothing about
not
the fields.
Right.
Okay, just in case anyone's got that kind of in the back of their mind that, hey, okay, you guys are going to be getting a cut. Not getting a cut. One thing on this that really just doesn't sit right is where's the stakeholder engagement been with this? The first time that anyone, at least in Copper Hills and most of the other sports leagues, have heard about this was the last day or two. It's a small town. We live here. We see you guys day in and day out. People from the parks, we're there constantly. Nobody came and said, hey, something's coming down the pike. Hey, we're really hurting for money. We've got this big increase coming. There was no chance for the leagues and the organizations to come and sit down with you guys to collaborate, to come up with solutions before tonight, before this is going to a vote tonight.
Thanks. Devin, do you want to touch on, I know there are stakeholder meetings that, I know people change on the committees and such, but isn't there stakeholder meetings on a regular basis?
Mayor Murphy, I can fully admit it's challenging for us to get this information to every member in our community. What I can share is that this item was first introduced into our biannual meetings in January of 2023. We spoke at length. We didn't have specifics on the fees, the dollar amount increases, but we started the conversation. Really that, has developed over the last year and a half to even the budget retreat when we talk specifics on numbers. We are doing our best to get that information out there, but we totally understand that it doesn't get to everybody.
Right. Thanks. And I know parents are busy and they're all volunteers and always the message doesn't cascade.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Shane.
Devin, who attends these biannual meetings? I mean, who's invited, and why do we lean on that method to get the word out?
Yeah. So these meetings are the invitation goes out to all of our league, our board members, our representation. It's an invitation to attend. Typically, we see most of the user groups showing up with representation. And the intention is to have these conversations, to be able to chat about what we're doing, what we're not doing well, so that we can make changes, but then talk more broadly on these kinds of items.
The idea being that as you're speaking with representatives from these groups, those representatives are going to go back and talk to their groups about this and what kind of feedback we need to provide the town.
That's correct. And really where it boils down is we don't have all of those contacts. We use our platforms to try to get that information out. I know that even on our social media, we were getting some of these fee changes out quite early on into this year. We try to use the channels we have available to get the information out.
Thanks. Yes, of course.
I think that we actually need to work harder on educating not only the board members, but the parents. The board members are all volunteers, and the parents actually that aren't board members put a lot of time into these leagues too. Is there a way that we can, instead of just having a meeting with the board members, making sure that the parents are aware of it so that they can come and put their input too, if they need to, and be educated on what's going on?
Councilmember Morales, I believe so, yes. It's absolutely an item we can continue to work on. We're doing that across all areas of communication, but yeah, I totally agree with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
If this was planning and zoning or building, we would have contacted Saba about the increases. We would have had MPA, we would have gone through. That doesn't seem to have happened here.
Well, I think these,
Actually, that's what these biannual meetings are, Councilmember.
You didn't have any numbers in the biannual meetings because this is the first we've seen the numbers now, so that means they just occurred recently.
Devin, is that, we did not talk numbers in any of these biannual meetings?
We didn't talk specific numbers at the biannual meetings, no.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, well, I have two more.
Well, actually, can I make a suggestion before?
Sure.
Based on this discussion that we've had probably for the last 30 minutes on the Parks and Rec, we've obviously got 6 or 7 other sections of fee adjustments. How about we table the Parks and Rec's discussion for tonight? It's obvious there needs to be a lot more input put into this. We need a little more data to support increases, decreases, or discounts, or whatever.
A different way to do it.
A different way to do it. I don't think we're going to break the bank by tabling this for another month or till we get through the summer.
Right.
These other fees, which is phase 2, these other fees we can probably go through tonight, but I'd like to make a motion at this point to table the Parks and Rec and continue the other discussion.
Sure. Is that okay with Mr. Bouchard and Villegas. Okay.
Mayor, you've got a motion to table that section of the ordinance, so you should take action on that.
Second.
On that motion in a second.
Okay, but you can still speak. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion on?
Mr. Mayor, I have discussion.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Vice Mayor, you go first, and then I'll go to Diane.
Okay. Thank you for all the conversations. Please know that my next couple statements are in no way being negative towards any of the users. I just wanted to make sure the council had some perspective. The idea that Tucson's fields are so much cheaper, we need to make sure that we keep in context that Tucson has a property tax, and we do not. And so, in fact, the Tucson has a motion to put up more, to increase their property tax, just came out in May, if I remember correctly. I think it's also important to remember that, yes, the users, the whole community helps pay for these fields, but the users use the bulk of it during the time the residents can use them. And so the residents as a whole are paying for 75 to 83% of these fields, and the users that use it during the peak times when other residents, just the lay residents that want to go and play baseball at the park, would not be able to because they're using them. And so when we talk about these fees, we have to remember that that there needs to be a balance there of the use that they're using it, and that prevents them from other residents that are paying the lion's share of it as a whole aren't able to do it. So when we look at this, I think it's just important to have those two contexts.
Thank you. Diane, did you have something you wanted to add? Yes. Microphone.
Well, I would be in favor of trying to get to a win-win for all of us. I understand the different issues, and I appreciate what you just said, Vice Mayor, but I also have a soft spot for the Little League. So I would like for us, that would be my position, for us to do a deeper dive and see if we could come to a win-win and a more equitable solution.
And that's sort of what the motion and the second is to do, to table it and actually go back. I know I looked up quickly. I didn't find Tucson quickly, but I saw Pima County was 10. I saw Marana was 8. So an hour. So, we're having these discussions and looking into it. It's that kind of extra, information that, think outside the box, be comparative, because Bill's right, when we do a P&Z permit, whatever, that's usually what we look to. What are our competitors, so to speak, stakeholders doing? So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 So we're going to move on, but because I do have those 2 speaker cards, if either one of you wanted to address the council.
If I can finish real brief, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So to kind of talk about what the Vice Mayor had said about, 73% of the people are using it without fees. The families that are using that and paying the fees are also taxpayers. So we're also in that alleged 73% of people that are getting off. No, we're being doubly taxed, and then on top of that, paying to use those fields during that time.
Right.
To rebut that, you were talking about fees. So area fees, and maybe somebody's going for higher fees. Tucson, it's free for daytime use, not $10 an hour, free. $4 an hour at night. Marana is $5 an hour, and no peak for nonprofits. So nighttime use, instead of $20 an hour in Marana, it'd be $5 an hour for them. Oro Valley is $5 an hour during the day, and then $10 peak hours for nonprofits. So that would put us 5 times for Tucson, 4 times higher than Marana, and 25, 30% higher than Oro Valley. So just to, talk down and address that.
Appreciate it. Sir. And if, it's absolutely fine to address, but thinking that we tabled it and we're going to be looking for solutions, if maybe you can just touch on some ideas that you might have.
I just have one question.
Sure.
My name's Mark Vegas. I'm a Pima County wastewater employee. Does the town of Sahuarita have access to reclaim water? to offset some of the costs?
Well, we have reclaimed water, but we don't have any piping that I understand that goes to the fields. So it would be.
That would be a capital expense.
Yes.
Because electricity is just a whole other animal.
Right.
and
So if you're thinking
regardless-
about up on the north end of Rancho Cerrito Boulevard, let's say to get to Animex Park, I don't even have a clue what that would cost to run a purple pipe.
I mean, how close is it? Or is it
It's
just for
miles.
Rancho?
It's just, it recharges up there.
Oh, it just recharges up there?
Yeah, and the other one's the county, which they own, the recharge.
Yeah, because that would
Quail
offset the
Creek.
cost substantially with reclaimed water.
Right.
Because that's what, I mean, the city of Tucson, that's exactly what they use, golf courses, parks, everything. That's
Right.
what they use it for, to offset costs.
Right. It would
Maybe-
just be the capital cost of running the purple pipe all the way from the north end down to Animex. I mean, it'd have to be hundreds of thousands of dollars, I'm guessing, but I don't know.
Okay.
All right.
It was just a question.
Yep, thank you, appreciate it.
How's everybody doing?
Good, having a great night in Sahuarita.
It's perfect, yeah. My name is Michael Broussard. I moved to Cerrito probably 6 years ago. I love it here. Love it. Absolutely love it. Some of the people that you see here, we've worked really tight together over the last few years. And we did a hell of a job cleaning the Little League swamp, if you will. There's a lot of corrupt stuff going on with that league, and we cleaned it up. And we got some good people in there now. And I guess, you know, to keep things real short and tight, I am part of a group of people who love their kids, man. That's what each one of you guys need to understand, that this is personal for us because it deals with our kids.
Right.
Okay? I'm actually not against a fee hike, to be honest with you. I understand some of the pros that can bring, but you got to do better. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
There's a problem in your Parks and Recs department, sir. There's an issue. And I have names, I know who's who, and I'm not going to blast them right now, but I will send an email. There's people in your department, Shane, that aren't doing their job, period. They're not doing their job. I'm a professional, okay? I work hard. And if I did half of what they do out there and what they don't do, I would not have a job. It is impossible for what you guys are trying to do for this town it is impossible for it to happen when the people that are supposed to be carrying out this stuff aren't doing their job, man. So I know it's not you. I know it's not you. But somebody down the line ain't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I'll give you my experience for the last 6 years with this town, and it's happened to me over and over and over again, man, and it has to stop. I booked a field. This is just this Saturday. I booked a field a month ago. Hey, we're going to be out there. I'm inviting 50 people from Tucson. We're going to have a baseball game. I deal with 10-year-olds, man. This is a big deal for me. We get out there, the field's wet. Giant puddle. Can't find a sprinkler. It's dusty. Where are the bases at? It's embarrassing. We got these people coming all the way down here. Now, this is multiplied by more than 10 times. I got email after email after email, guys, of unplayable baseball fields. You're letting the kids down. Now, again, I know it's not you, but it's down the pipe, Shane. You need to take a look, man. You need to get rid of some people. You need some suggestions. I got guys that'll come in there and kick butt, man. I promise you. I promise you. But there's somebody that's not doing what they're supposed to be doing with these fields, and they're working it. They're working it, man. They're clocking in, they're clocking out, they're getting paid and not doing their job. And it's unfortunate because it makes us look bad. Because I know all of us in here want the same thing, right? We want the best experience for our kids, right? So if that means a fee increase, I'm for it. But don't increase the fees and not change, right? I think that's what we're all worried about the most, right? Because we've seen what it's been like the last 5 years, right? And don't get me wrong, you guys deserve a lot of credit. We got scoreboards. We're getting there. We're getting there, right? But I think that we're really lacking in the execution portion of this. And if you guys want to raise fees, please come through, right? That's all I have to say.
Thank you, appreciate being here. That was all the speaker cards I had. We have the motion to move on. So Nathan, why don't you touch on the other fee increase areas?
You don't need to vote on the motion before I move on?
You already voted on it.
Yeah, already voted on it.
Yeah, sorry. I was consulting with staff. Okay. So second set of fee adjustments are for the police department. We're looking at 7 individual adjustments to the fees here. First off is fingerprinting. For the longest time, we have had the lowest fee for fingerprinting of anywhere in the region. We're talking $3 for residents, $5 for non-residents. Other jurisdictions are charging $10 for both residents and non-residents. There's at least one jurisdiction, although which one escapes me. I know I saw this in my research, that was charging $20 for fingerprinting. So this recommendation is to not only increase that fingerprinting to $10 so that we're on par with Marana and Oro Valley, but there's also some clarification that that $10 fee comes with one free fingerprint card. Currently, the fee schedule is a little ambiguous about whether that fingerprint card, that first fingerprint card is free or not, or whether you have to pay that $5 fee to get your first card. So the fee schedule will clarify, first card is free, every additional card after that is $5. Increasing the fee on off-duty police officers. This one we are lagging way behind our peer jurisdictions, which makes it hard to get our police officers to, I'm not sure volunteer is the correct word for that, but to step up and do these off-duty type of tasks. As part of that, there's also an increase to the fee for using an off-duty police vehicle. For that one, I just used a similar percentage increase for the car as what we're seeing for the officers. A couple new fees in regards to documents and records, just to recover the cost that it takes staff to prepare those documents and records. And then body-worn cameras. This was a hot button issue last year at the state legislature. A new law was passed that allows municipalities to charge for the preparation and dissemination of body-worn camera footage. Rather than set a specific fee in the fee schedule, we are referring to the section of state law. I don't like to do this because, as I said, I want the fee schedule to be as user-friendly as possible, but this allows us to stay current with state law and make sure that the fees that we're charging are concurrent with what the state statute allows. That amount is $47 per hour, and that's per hour of footage, not per hour of staff time in preparing the footage. Generally speaking, the amount of time that goes into reviewing body-worn camera footage and redacting what needs to be redacted can be 2 or 3 times as much or more than the length of the footage itself. So those are the adjustments that are being recommended for police department. Any questions?
Questions on that? Nope. Please continue.
Mayor?
Yes. Sorry.
Mr. Sundberg had a request to speak about documents and records.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He did not put in a speaker
Oh,
card
okay, I
yet.
just had Bond.
I just wanted to.
Okay. Do you want, yep. But can you turn in a separate card? I'll turn it right out. Okay, thanks.
So I care about freedom and I care about transparency. And when you raise rates on seeing what people did and raise rates on seeing documents, you stifle transparency. You try to shut it down, say, we don't want people to see what we've done. That's my big fear about raising rate fees. Because what you're really trying to say is, we don't want people to see what our police did. We don't want people to see what the council did or the zoning board. There's a lot of concerns I would have about trying to raise fees to stifle freedom of information and free speech and access to transparency of the government. That's my only concern. So, thanks.
Appreciate it.
Fee adjustments for the municipal court, we're looking at Man, a lot of that going around tonight. Okay, so fee adjustments for the municipal court fees. We're looking at 7 fee adjustments here. Generally, these are just increases to most existing fees. Most of these fees, the vast majority of them, are fees that have not been raised since at least 2013. Looking at that copy of the 2013 fee schedule that I have, the fees in the current fee schedule are exactly the same as they were in 2013. So increases and adjustments are long overdue. In addition to these generalized increases, we're doing a few additional things. The fee schedule, for example, currently lists 2 different fees for misdemeanor prosecution, but it doesn't say which fee applies when. So we're clarifying that the higher fee applies to DUI prosecutions. We're proposing a new jury cancellation policy. Again, this is a two-tiered fee. The lower tier is for jury cancellation that happens before arraignment, when jury cancellation can be done more easily. If the jury cancellation occurs after jury summons have gone out, that's a lot more difficult and time-consuming and expensive to cancel, and so we're proposing a higher fee when jury cancellation occurs then. The current fee, I believe, is $200, so we're recommending $200 for that first tier, $400 for canceling the jury trial after the summons have gone up. And then finally, a proposed new fee of $25 per case for a court security fee. This would go to help fund additional security when it is warranted. We have occasionally needed to draw on other staff who have security experience to help out during surge court activity. So this new court security fee would help to fund those surges. So, any questions on municipal court fees?
Questions to my right? Nope. Please continue.
Okay. In terms of administrative fees, we're looking at 11 individual fee adjustments. Many of these are for production of town documents. We're not increasing fees for black and white copies, but we are specifying that color copies will have a premium fee added to them. The current fee schedule allows for digital production of documents on CDs, which, to my dismay, is becoming an antiquated technology. I still listen to CDs in my car. Apparently, that's not cool anymore. So we are proposing to update that to USB drives, thumb drives, jump drives, whatever you want to call those. Those are a little bit more expensive to procure than CDs, so the increase for digital documents would increase from $5 for the CDs to $10 for the USB drive. And additional increases for large format documents that are, sheet mats and plats is also recommended. Per hour fees, this is something that you will also see, and you will see it more often in the public works fees that we're going to review in phase 2. My goal here is to standardize any fee that requires per hour of staff time. Currently in the fee schedule, there's a variety of $65 an hour, $75 an hour, et cetera. So I'd like to standardize that across the board. Again, ease of use. There is a couple per hour fees in this section, administrative fees. So we're standardizing those in this section, $80 an hour. The administrative fee section also includes some per hour fees for department heads and for the town manager. When department heads and the town manager have to get involved in some sort of time-consuming task or service, we do have the latitude to charge their time, and so we are increasing those fees for department heads and town managers. I don't believe that this is a fee that is often invoked. It's in the fee schedule to provide that latitude if it's needed. And then finally, with business licenses, we're doing a couple things. As you know, there is no fee for business licenses in the town of Sahuarita. However, there is a fee for late renewal of business licenses. To me, that doesn't really track. It doesn't really follow. If there's no fee for the business license, why is there a fee for late renewal of something that doesn't cost anything? So I'm recommending elimination of that late renewal fee. And then additionally, there are two sections of the fee schedule for door-to-door salesmen and mobile vendor fees. They are exactly the same. So just to reduce the amount of line items, I'm just recommending that those be consolidated into a single section for fees for door-to-door and mobile vendors. Okay, any questions?
Well, I know what door-to-door is, because we have them all the time. Mobile vendor, is that the food trucks? What would be an example of a mobile vendor fee?
Honorable Mayor, Council. Example of a mobile vendor fee would be, for example, an ice cream truck. Or we did at one time actually have someone that walked around town with an actual cart.
Right. Okay, so it's different than a food truck.
It is different than a food truck.
Okay.
correct.
I'm okay with that then. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then finally, miscellaneous fees and dog licensing fees, one fee adjustment on each of these. The miscellaneous fee is, again, bringing all per hour fees into alignment so that they're all the same throughout the fee schedule. And then dog licensing fees, this is a proposed increase for registering an unaltered dog. That is a dog that has not been spayed or neutered. And that just brings it in line with unaltered dog registration fees in other jurisdictions in Pima County.
Thanks.
So, next steps, what are we looking at? After approval of these fees tonight, we would then move shift our focus to phase 2, which will be public hearing fees, development review, building permits, public work fees, and parks and rec fees for phase 2. We are also looking, this is something that came out of the discussion at the budget retreat. We're looking at a policy proposal for a deposit style or escrow style fee for certain complex fees that will ensure that development pays for itself. So we will come to council with that policy proposal as part of phase 2.
Thanks. And I think you heard tonight, engagement would be really good before it. And also having those comparative communities kind of locked down on where we would stand within there. Those are my 2 takeaways for phase 2. Any other comments from my right on kind of the discussion and questions on that? Any questions? No. So John, knowing that we tabled one of the items, how does that track on adopting an ordinance that has been modified?
The motion, if you choose to approve it, would be a motion to approve ordinance number 2024-174, striking all reference to section 3.10.150 Parks and Recreation fees.
Would someone like to make
Mr.
that?
Mayor, I make a motion as
stated?
stated by the attorney.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. And any further discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks. Appreciate it. Item number 11, Madam Clerk.
Discussion and possible adoption of resolution number 2024-0789. 1, ordering and calling a special election to be held on November 5th, 2024, in and for the town of Sahuarita, Arizona, to submit to the qualified electors thereof a question with respect to selling and issuing bonds in an amount not exceeding $66 million payable from secondary ad valorem property taxes, and 2, declaring for purposes of section 1.150-2 of the Federal Treasury Regulations, official intent to be reimbursed in the connection with certain capital expenditures described herein.
Thank you. And Victor Gonzalez, our Economic Development and Public Affairs Director, will present this item. Good evening, Victor.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. What we'll do is we'll do 3 things tonight. We'll do a bond package recap. I understand there was a pretty lengthy and healthy conversation about 2 weeks ago regarding the projects and what is to be expected. So we'll just do a quick recap of that once again, give us an opportunity to have a conversation if you like. The second part will be just discussing what will happen next if you so choose to adopt the resolution. And then the third part is the resolution itself, which is part of your packet, and you had an opportunity to review the resolution, and so we have staff on hand that could answer any questions or clarify anything specific to the resolution. All of this leading up to a possible vote for that resolution tonight. So again, just by way of recap, right, just to understand what we all are getting into as we move forward, there are 7 proposed projects, public projects in this package. These projects include infrastructure, as well as recreation. As we've presented in the past in multiple occasions, there was multiple efforts went into providing input to what those projects are by both staff and the due diligence, different planning documents that help inform and identify those projects. And ultimately, what we're looking at the end of this item is approval by the town, right, to sell 66 million of general obligation bonds and the average monthly cost, which again was discussed at last meeting. And we do have AC on hand as well as our bond counsel that could go into any specifics if you all wish to. But again, this is by way of a recap for you all this evening. This is what we're looking for, again, by way of recap and summary. The total project cost of $76 million with a general obligation bond of $66 and the town of Sahuarita through a general fund contribution of $10 million and the impact that would have to the secondary tax for residents. This is a summary of the projects. No surprise to us, we've spent the last really 6 months plus looking at these projects, whether it was through the budget retreat process, through a number of presentations that were given to the council. Nothing has changed much, but these are the projects that are on the table and included in the bond project. If I just kind of may mention as a footnote, when we look at the Animex Park field improvements, by way of description, and certainly this will be in collaboration with our partners, some of which we heard tonight, but improvements to Animex will include ball fields, possibly artificial turf, batting cages, replacement of bleachers and concession stands. Those are the type of items that as we get into the planning process, we'll be engaging with partners on that. But I wanted to share that as a footnote in light of the conversation this evening. And so specific to Animex Park field improvements, that would roughly be about $2.1 million. But you can see the rest of the projects that will be part of that bond package. Again, as a reminder, we went out to the community and surveyed the community as to what they prefer and what they would like to see. So the multi-generational rec center was voted on top of people's lists as to the type of project that they would want to see. PD building expansion, public safety was much on people's minds and the importance of funding that project. Trails development, sports court complex, and Animex Park field improvements round out the top 5 projects that our residents voted in support. Again, as a reminder as to what this would look like moving forward as we look into future fiscal years starting in 26 and moving on all the way through fiscal year 34. But again, how these projects would be phased. Knowing that public safety and the recreation center were 2 of the projects that were a priority for residents, those would be the projects that would kick off the construction and prior to the design of these facilities. Okay, so that was just the recap of the projects, the costs, the timeline, so the package in itself. So what's going to happen if you so choose to approve the resolution tonight? Well, that is what we're here tonight to do so. But moving forward, that would formally call the election for November 5th. So placing the measure in the ballot for November 5th. So choosing to approve the resolution tonight approves the form of ballot question as well, which is an exhibit that's attached to the resolution. Also, what would happen soon after a decision is made is that it delegates authority to town staff to generally coordinate election activities. And so there is some language in the resolution that kind of spells out the role that our clerk will play in the coordination of that and coordinating the election and the activities related to the resolution. It also establishes a deadline, and you'll find that in the resolution as well, as to what that deadline is for submitting pro and con arguments. It also, one of the things that we as staff, it's going to preserve the ability of the town to reimburse itself for expenditures. So again, that's stated in the resolution. And then a formal call to election triggers limitation on the use of the town resources. So what does that mean? It means that we as staff will have to maintain neutral. We could only inform on the factuals and general information about the projects, but we would have to remain neutral. I believe Paul Gales is on the line, and so I can stand corrected if I said something incorrect, and/or if there's any questions related to the matter, I'm sure he'd be more than happy to jump in and discuss more specifics on that. You have in part of your packet the draft ballot and what that question looks like. I can pause here, answer any questions, or at least defer to staff if there is any questions on the draft language, as well as any questions or comments on the bond resolution. But that is what you have before you, is the bond package, what will take place soon after you call the election by way of this resolution. And finally, what's on the table for your consideration and vote is the resolution this evening.
Thanks. Can you go back to the timeline slide really quickly? Just based on the conversations tonight for the Animex Park field improvements, is there are we selling them all at once, the bonds? Is some of the phasing because of selling the bonds and phasing, or why couldn't, because they're probably different folks that would have to, quarterback the project. Police is going to be certainly a separate. But I was just curious on the NMX Park and Rec improvements on why we couldn't do those a little earlier based on good discussions tonight.
I think we can be open to adjustments to this timeline. This is the timeline that we've been discussing with council up to this point.
Right.
We factored in capacity to deliver. We want to be successful and make sure
Right.
that, when we make a promise, we're able to honor that promise to the public. So this timeline works for staff. We don't intend to call all the bond at once, right? So
Right,
it
that's-
really is kind of a cash flow. If we have the ability to, front some and wait on, on calling some of the bond, then we probably will. So that saves in interest rates, it saves in all sorts of stuff, right? So it is a factor of discussion, and we can have at any point in time.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Any other questions from my right or my left? No more questions. I had seen the language. I was comfortable with that. We had one call to the public, so I'll let Noah go, and then if there's any further discussion. Thanks.
I'm Noah.
Hi, Noah.
Who here remembers Mayor Bloomberg? Mayor Bloomberg discussed, I know Tom does, I know Bill does, I know Kara does, I'm pretty sure Deborah does too. He bragged a lot about how fiscally responsible his town is, and do you know what he used as his example? We got no property tax, every time. Wasn't really true because of CFD taxes, but he still said it and he meant it.
No, at the time, there was no CFD tax.
There wasn't Quail Creek. So, there was, and then we passed one of the biggest CFDs ever. But that's what he bragged about, because he's like, we want to be fiscally responsible. We're not bonding here. We're not taking on debt to pay for things we can pay as we go. You're throwing that all away.
No, we're not. You are, because you're voting on it, not us.
You're putting it up, and I hope you don't.
That's what we do.
Right. We do fiscally irresponsible things and then hope people maintain. But it's my time. Okay. That is what you're doing. And you're hitting people who are already paying for these resources in La Posada, in Quail Creek, in Madera Highlands, in Rancho Cerrito, in Rancho Resort, in Del Webb, Sonora. You're hitting all these people that are already paying for these things and saying, well, let's pay it again. I know that this is what Gillespie requested when he wanted to be on the board. This was his baby. This is something that was important to him. It was his number one priority when he asked to be appointed. So I know you guys care. I really feel like this is damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. It doesn't really matter what people say. I know that's not Army, but that is a push. But when you look at where the money is being spent and you look at the fees that have gone up, counties raising everybody's assessments and not dropping the rates. So county rates are going up. Fire district jacking everybody else's rates up because they're way more expensive than rural metro. And if you weren't paying rural metro, you're really going to feel it because you're going to get the full brunt. Could be up to like $1,500, okay? School district, $50 million bond passed. We're paying all that. HOA rates are going up. CFD rates, one of the most expensive ones in the state is in Rancho Cerrito. You're paying about $1,500. That's a lot of money. We're getting taxed right now. When we talk about high inflation, high cost to everybody, high burdens on everybody, and you're saying, let's have the voters do one more, and let's not really focus on the fact that it's $240 a year that we're throwing on top of their tax burden. Till 2050, if you take amortization off of the last time you maybe take out a bond. So there's that. In Rancho, we were promised a pool and a new gym, and they canceled it. Is this backfilling what they didn't do? They put a dog park in a park instead. So are we backfilling what Rancho has told their residents? I'm just looking at the things that are out there. When I look at the costs, most of these could be pay-go. We don't need there's no reason to put a bond to maintain a building, to maintain parks, do these things. That should be paid as you go. I don't appreciate the extra costs, and I hope you guys would consider the fact this is no longer going to be the fiscal responsible city that Dwayne Bloomberg said we were. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Victor at this point? No? Well, just to address the one comment, it is up to the voters at the end of the day.
Yep.
I think we've done a really good job surveying and asking, and one of the takeaways for me was the positiveness out of Quail Creek and Rancho Cerrito from that perspective. So that's a quick comment. Are you going to put another speaker? Yeah, well, you have to put a speaker card in afterwards, if you want. Yeah.
So this was something we had talked about among some of my friends. The biggest concern I have is this bond is there a way to separate all of it so that we're not voting for $66 million? We vote for what the stakeholders decide they want to vote for, right?
There was a conversation about that. The county tried their 7 bond questions. They all went down a few years ago from doing that. So that was one of the possibilities, but we thought packaging them was a better way to go. I'm guessing you don't feel that way?
No, I think that it's kind of fiscally irresponsible, but also it kind of puts me in a corner, right? Because there's a lot of things like the police department, I'm for, right? The Animax, obviously, but there's some other things that I question, right? The cost, like the Public Works building, $4 million, it's kind of high. And do they need that big of a facility?
Right. We had some of those discussions because right now they don't have a home. It's been one of the things that's put on the back burner.
Sure.
And unfortunately, all of those costs, because I work on the Pima Association of Governments RTA, and all of these projects are coming in 40%, plus over cost.
Sure. Yeah, my dad's a construction supervisor,
Right.
so yeah, I get it. But
no, we've decided, I think until tonight, we've decided to package them together and have it as one bond.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you, appreciate it. Any questions? No? I know there was at least potential agreement last meeting to move forward, so having no more questions, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I think turning it over to the voters is the way to go. So I move to adopt resolution 2024-0785.
Thanks.
Did I do the right resolution?
I think it's 8-9.
8-9, sorry, my
Yes.
computer went blank. Just
That's
said-
okay. Just wanted to make sure.
789.
And we have a motion and a second with Diane. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Having no more further business for the public, we're adjourned, and our next meeting is June 24th. Thank you.